Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us back here on Prostar's channel. We're sitting here once again with Paige Tucker, and we have some exciting announcements and updates about the company to run through with you guys. But first off, Paige, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. I hope you're doing extremely well yourself.
I'm doing pretty well myself, sir. But let's dive into it a little bit. The Township of Aberdeen adopts ProStar's solution to meet New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection mandate. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. First and foremost, tell me about this mandate that's in place that's really leading you guys to get some of these clients.
Well, I think actually where this starts, and if you take a look at what's been taking place in Flint, Michigan, where there's serious problems with their water systems, particularly water systems that were built a long time ago, and they use lead in the materials, which obviously causes serious issues
Yeah.
in the drinking water. And it's becoming kind of front and center an issue for a lot of states. So what the state of New Jersey did is mandated that all the municipalities in the state have to be able to report to the state digitally where their water systems are located. And this is being enforced by the Department of Environmental Protection in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great idea because we need to know where our water systems are. And in addition to that, a lot of municipalities also operate the sewer systems. So we need to know where our sewer systems are located as well. The challenge will be is that a lot of the smaller municipalities in New Jersey will still be operating off very old, antiquated business practices, which is paper maps, and they'll be in file drawers. So they won't be able to achieve and deliver on the mandate unless they want to go into a drawer and pull out a paper map and fax it to them, which, believe it or not, that's how business has been conducted for about 25 years.
Yeah.
So what's happening is municipalities are finding us. They're going on Google and seeing if they can find a solution, and they're landing on ProStar. And of course, we have a very efficient, very low cost solution in PointMan that can actually manage all of the assets of a municipality. I'm talking critical infrastructure, both above and below ground. So not just their water systems and their sewage systems, and some municipalities are even starting to build out broadband networks. But in addition to that, really critical surface infrastructure, such as fire hydrants, manhole covers, park benches, trees, road signs, anything that is considered to be an asset of the city can now be precisely managed on our solution, which of course is called PointMan Pro. So I think what's exciting about this is that we put out the press release on Aberdeen this week. And then what they've agreed to is also a case study. So we're going to go ahead and get a case study done. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and market all the other small municipalities in New Jersey that I think will also be in serious need of a asset management system that we can now provide to them. And my guess is there's going to be at least a few hundred other small municipalities in the state of New Jersey. That will see great value in our solution. But in addition to that, it always starts with one state. I know that the state of Washington has also put out a preliminary warning to all the municipalities there that they're also going to have to be able to report where all their water systems are. Usually it starts with one state, and if it's successful and it adds value and creates value to the public and to our environment, then it works its way down to other states. So I'm pretty excited about that because there's actually 38,000 municipalities in the United States alone with a population of under 20,000. And the reason I picked that number is those are fairly small municipalities, but that's a large number of municipalities. And the majority of them will still be operating off of paper mapping systems. Well, I think we know what's happened in other industries. If you compare digital to paper mapping systems, everything has gone digital. But when you take a look at managing critical infrastructure, that entire industry is somewhat of a lagger. So, we started out in the construction industry. brought on, major clients like Kiewit and Kramer. And then we worked our way into the other market sector of managing critical infrastructure, which is the engineering and surveying industry. And then we also worked in government, which is Department of Transportation, which manages, infrastructure, including our roads, bridges, highways, railway systems. So it's only natural that we work our way into the municipal market that also manages critical infrastructure, as I mentioned, mainly water systems and sewage systems. So this is a great opportunity for us, and we weren't even selling or marketing the municipal market because we're being very methodical and very focused on each industry. But surprisingly enough, they're reaching out to us, and we do have a solution. It's a big market. Our solution is disruptive, both in the fact that it's the most modern, mapping system in the world. It's a very modern technology. It's obviously cloud and mobile based, and it's very cost effective. Like any municipality can easily afford our solution without being a burden on their annual budget, which of course they look at closely. So I'm pretty excited about that. But in addition to that, we introduced our new platform at the end of March, running on AWS. We completely redeveloped our platform. Took us a few years and cost us several millions of dollars. And one of the reasons that we developed it is that we knew that we developed a solution that could address an issue that is a global issue. And that is really not really knowing where particularly buried infrastructure is, our utilities and our pipelines. And if you think about the United States, it's a big problem here. And obviously that's why we're looking at passing this infrastructure bill. But the United States is relatively young in comparison to other parts of the world. So even though we have a huge issue here, it pales in comparison to other parts of the world. And the solution that we developed will work in any language, work in any currency, and in any part of the world. So I think as we start to get a footprint here in the United States, in all of these different industry verticals, or what some people might refer to as market sectors, I think we're going to start to see interest in other countries. And our system is designed to be able to scale globally. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. And, it always starts with one or two municipalities. I think we announced a few weeks ago that we brought on a small municipality in Iowa. Now we're bringing on a small municipality in New Jersey. And I expect that number will start to ramp up just based on credibility, visibility, and being able to market, to the other small municipalities.
Yeah, just like how the people other states are looking at the mandate in New Jersey and so on to see if it works. People will be looking at your point man system to see how it goes. And it's really interesting to see how what's really special about point man is you look at it and you say, man, we really do need something like this. And I'm surprised it didn't come along sooner, but everything is so old when it comes to how a lot of these municipalities and so on operate, that something like this just comes through and can completely revamp everything to where the price point that they might have to pay for it is completely overcome by the fact that it saves them a lot of time and money and makes things better for everybody along the way. We really need to upgrade all of our critical infrastructure technology and everything that we do around it. And I think pretty much everywhere in the world now is kind of on board with that same idea. So you can really see the potential in this product.
Absolutely. And I think maybe what's part of the catalyst in this is the infrastructure bill that is anticipated to be passed at some point in time, because it really is to address, our roads, bridges, highways, railway systems, but also a good portion of that is earmarked to address our water systems and also our sewage systems, which again are managed at the municipal level. So when you take a look at our roads, bridges, railway systems, that's at the federal level and works its way down to the state level, to the state Department of Transportation agencies within each state. But when it comes to our critical water and sewage systems, those are handled in most cases by the municipalities. So the money will trickle down from the federal government down to the state government, then down to the municipal level. And the point of it is that in order to be able to understand what portions of our water systems, what portions of our sewer systems need to be repaired or replaced, we're going to have to know precisely where they're located and what condition they're in. Well, currently, in most cases, we're not going to be able to do that because you can't identify that on a paper map.
Yeah.
And a large majority of them were put into the ground 60 to 100 years ago when there was no need for maps. There was no regulatory or oversight that was actually monitoring, where these systems were being put into the ground. Plus, they were never intended to support the level of population growth we've had over the last half century. So with Prostar, what we've done is we've developed a system that can precisely capture, record, and display where this critical infrastructure is buried below the ground. So I think we're going to be positioned quite well to capitalize on all of this construction and repair and replacement of both above ground infrastructure and below ground infrastructure. And I think right in the center of this is going to be a lot of these municipalities that historically didn't have the resources to be able to basically utilize a system that could meet their requirements. And then we come along, and it just might be perfect time. It's what you call the perfect storm, where everything just kind of comes together in a timely manner.
Yeah, that's good. That's exactly what I was going to say. It seems like it's a perfect storm with everything that's going on, the infrastructure bill, the fact all this stuff is getting really old, and it's to the point where it's like the technology that they're currently utilizing is, I mean, maps. I guess maps are technically hundreds or thousands of years old at this point. It's like we're well past that now, guys. We got some really good stuff going on. Let's say you can easily modernize. You guys have made it very simple for them to do so. So, Paige, it sounds like everything's cooking really well for you guys. Anything else? What would you say you're most excited about out of all of this? What are you really looking forward to?
Well, honestly, is that, I mean, you never know when you develop a disruptive technology. A lot of times people hear this word disruption, and it's like maybe an overused word in many cases. When you design something that's disruptive, what that means is that you're completely changing the way things are currently done. I mean, you're basically breaking the rules of whatever industry that applies to.
Mhm.
Well, when you do that, it means you also have to get that industry to change the way that they've been doing things. In some cases, like in the industry that we're involved in, they've been doing things the same way for a quarter of a century.
Mhm.
And, everybody makes money, everybody gets paid, the job gets done, everyone's happy. So there's no reason to really change anything because you don't want to take on the risk or liability. So what it really requires to make a change is something that's disruptive, like a no-brainer, like it makes everything easier, streamlines all the workflow processes, makes your business practices more streamlined, and at the end of the day, provides a better bottom line. That's why we use the word disruption. But part of that is the change management of getting the industry to adopt this new technology or whatever it is that you've developed, whatever the mousetrap is. Sometimes that's the hard part. And what you have to do is you have to find what we call early adopters.
Mhm.
They can't be, someone down at, a couple blocks away, or your friend or your uncle. These have to be big companies that have an incredible reputation, and they put a lot on the line. And
Mhm.
so, like, for example, Kiewit, I mean, they're one of the largest infrastructure construction companies in the world. They adopted our technology. Now they're moving us out into other divisions. We have some of the largest engineering and surveying firms in the United States that have adopted our software. We have the leading equipment manufacturers around the world of GPS equipment and of the utility and pipeline locate tools that have partnered with us and allowed us to integrate our software into their equipment and their devices and their tools. And now we're slowly starting to work into other industries. As you know, in the state of Colorado, our software was mandated into law. That means that every utility company, construction company, engineering company, municipality, anyone that either owns or is working on a utility or a pipeline on a state right-of-way is required by law to use our software to identify precisely where it's located and provide that information back to the state. Now we have other states looking at what Colorado's doing. We actually have, I've met with a couple countries, including Singapore and Denmark, that are
Wow.
looking to do the same thing, where you're standardizing data collection methodologies and practices in order to improve the quality of the information that's being provided to the state and to the stakeholders that need that information to make the public and the environment safer. Now what's happening is we just landed, for example, our first utility company, one of the largest fiber optic companies in North America. And now we're at the municipal industry sector. So
Yeah.
what I'm excited about is I'm starting to see that adoption
Mhm.
in the market in multiple market sectors. And at some point, I think that ProStar's Point Man is going to become the de facto software, and it's going to be a name that's synonymous with public and environmental safety, streamlining workflow processes, improving business practices throughout the critical infrastructure world. And I can see it happening. And it's what gets me up every morning and gets me excited is that every time we bring on one customer, every time we add another municipality, every time we partner with another equipment manufacturer, it just significantly increases the probability that at some point this thing's really going to ramp up and take off. You know, the last thing I want to say is, you know, as an entrepreneur, it reminds me when you start a company, it's like pushing a rock up a hill, a
Yeah.
big boulder up the hill. And every day, maybe a little more, a little more, a little more. Sometimes it even slides backwards once in a while, and
For
you'll
sure.
even run over your feet and bruise your toes, right? But eventually you get up to that point when you're on the top of the mountain, and all you got to do is push it one more time, and then it takes on a life of its own as it starts to roll down the hill.
Mhm.
I feel like we're almost there. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I can feel it coming. And at some point, I don't know if it's one more customer, one more municipality, one more large client like a Kiewit, but it's a tipping point, and I can feel it coming, and
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, very well said. It is definitely a game of momentum at some point. And like you're very right, where for something to truly be disruptive, it's got to shake off the inertia of what people are used to, which is not a very easy thing to do. People get, as you said, entire systems get set in place and then they just run, and then that's the system. And it's not an easy thing to take something else, put it in there and say, okay, this is what we got to do now. For the most part, people can kind of shake that off. But if it's truly disruptive, which, as you said, has kind of been used as a marketing term in the past that people have definitely overused. But if it's truly disruptive, it's really going to get in there, and things are just going to fall in line, as you said, almost like dominoes falling. Might be an easy way to explain it.
Well, I like to really simplify things. So if you take example, the hospitality industry. So I'm talking about basically hotels, and we
Okay.
all use hotels, right? Airbnb comes along. Airbnb is a mobile app. It's a mobile app that manages all of its data in the cloud. And you know what it's based on? It's based on a mobile device, GPS, and a map.
Yeah.
That's actually the backbone of Airbnb. Any information you're looking for is based on what you're searching for on that mobile device. And then after that, it's based on what you're looking for, what location, which is based on the map, and it finds it based on GPS. Okay.
Yeah.
Look what that has done to disrupt the hospitality industry. I mean, it set it
Wow.
upside down, right? Let's take a look at transportation. And when we think of transportation, I think of the taxi industry and I think of Uber. Do you know what Uber is? Uber is a mobile app. All the information is operating in the cloud, and it's based on a mobile device, a map, and GPS. It's actually that simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there's business rules and workflow processes associated to getting you from point A to point B, similar to a taxi service. It's the
Mhm.
same thing at Airbnb. There's workflow practices and business processes, if you will, that are associated to the hotel industry. What we've done is with the construction industry, it's basically where we are. It's the construction. It's either you own the utility or the pipeline, or you construct it, or you're engineering and surveying it, or you're maintaining and managing it. I mean, that is basically the ecosystem of where we are when we talk about critical infrastructure. And they've been operating under the same business practices and workflow processes for over 25 years. It's what we say ripe for disruption, okay? What we've developed is actually a simple mobile app, and all of our business operations and calculations and workflow processes all operate up in the cloud. And we're based on a map and GPS.
Yeah.
So we refer to ourselves as the Airbnb or the Uber app of the construction industry. The only difference for us, the key differentiator, and what makes us so unique is that when you think of GPS and the GPS that's in your mobile device,
Mhm.
that chip provides accuracy of about 1 to 3 meters. Okay. Well, if I'm looking for a house, even if it's in a strange, unfamiliar area for Airbnb, you get me within 1 to 3 meters. I
You'll
can
find
see
it.
the address, I
Yeah.
can see the picture, I can say, there's the house, right? It's the same as Uber, right? Uber can deliver you within 1 to 3 meters. When they come to get you, you can stand on the side of the road, you see the Uber light and you wave your hand. And then when they drop you off at your friend's house or even an unfamiliar destination, they can say, this is the address, or this is the hotel, or this is the restaurant. You can see the sign, everybody's happy, like, wow, what a great service.
Yeah.
The key differentiator for Prostar is that we offer the same service, with the exception that we have to be down to the centimeter. And that's what makes us so unique. The ability to provide centimeter accuracy on a standard mobile device is something that we were told could not be done. And then to be able to run all of the calculations required to determine that it's centimeter accuracy and do that in a thing called the cloud, and then provide that back out onto my phone. It's taken us years to convince the construction industry, the engineering and surveying industry, and even the equipment manufacturers of GPS and of surveying equipment and the locate devices that are required to identify where a pipeline or utility is, that we could actually do that. And today, we're getting that adoption in the market, and it's going to spread fast. That's why I use the word disruption, because we are a disruptive technology.
Yeah, yeah. Again, that was very well said. You're definitely seeing a lot of parallels with how people are modernizing industries and such. And well, you know what? Just a last thing I'll add, because I don't want to carry this on too long with you. But the last thing I'll add is what's interesting is while Airbnb disrupted the hospitality industry and Uber disrupted the taxi industry, the infrastructure is a much larger scale than those industries. We're talking like an industry that affects everybody, no matter what you're doing. You're surrounded by infrastructure. It's a necessity. We're talking necessities. We're not talking luxuries.
Well, it's a good point, actually, because from a business standpoint, and as you know, we're a publicly traded company, so I'm constantly talking to like analysts, I'm talking to institutional banks, hedge funds, brokers. The one thing they want to know is, how do you minimize the risk and liability of a company, especially a company that you're investing in? Like, what are the red flags that could affect the company? And the one thing they like about Prostar is we're in the infrastructure business, and infrastructure is not going anywhere. In fact, as population grows, as there's more demand for energy, more demand for water, more demand to dispose our sewage, infrastructure only continues to grow. And it's actually, interestingly enough, and we focus on both above and below ground. Our core competency is below ground because we've designed a system that can map the underground down to the centimeter and also identify where current infrastructure is. So that infrastructure, number one, is not going anywhere. But more importantly, and we know this from all the campaigning that's coming out, in particular from the White House, is that both our above ground infrastructure and our below ground infrastructure is critical to our economy and to public and environmental safety. And we know it's becoming dilapidated. We know it needs to be repaired. We know it needs to be replaced. And you're talking trillions of dollars. The first trillion is just to address some critical infrastructure in particular geographic areas of the country. But to actually get to the point where we can bring our infrastructure up to the standards it needs to be to meet demands is going to be several trillions of dollars. And as I mentioned, it's critical not only to our economy, but also to public and environmental safety. So it's not going anywhere. In fact, it's only going to continue to get worse with every day until we start to address it. And it'll take decades to address it. And so, no, I think we've positioned ourselves very well, regardless of the infrastructure bill. What's happened right now is it's now front and center, and everybody knows that we have a serious issue and we need to address it. And we need to take part of our even state funds and municipal funds and start putting it towards that, because at the end of the day, it's all about what's in the best interest of the public
Yeah.
and our environment, and addressing our critical infrastructure is front and center.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's true. It's all hands on deck. People understand this problem now. They're acknowledging it. And as you said, things deteriorate. That's just going to happen. And as things are deteriorating, populations are growing. So it's like it's a multifolded variable issue here. That's not going to stop, and it affects everybody.
I'll close on a humorous note, because these are such serious topics, and sometimes we get so serious about these things. Maybe it's funny to end on a humorous note. This is what I've been telling people lately, because the big issue is making sure that our roads and our highways and our railway systems are up to par to meet transportation demands. Like 75% of our goods that we use every day or that we provide to our businesses, 75% are actually delivered by truck. So yes, our roads and our bridges are very important, particularly to our economy, no doubt about it, okay? But then I crack a joke, because sometimes we don't think about our water systems and our sewage systems as also being critical infrastructure, okay? And I always say, if you think you're going to be upset because your Amazon package showed up 2 days late, just think how upset you're going to be if you can't have good drinking water and you can't dispose your sewage.
Paige, well, that is a joke. That is also still pretty serious.
It is very serious.
That is very serious. But all right, Paige, listen, it's been great talking to you. I think we got a lot of good information here. We talked about Prostar and Point Man as a whole, gave people some quality updates. So everybody, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions about any of it, do not be afraid to reach out, and stay tuned. We'll get you another interview about the next exciting move as soon as we got some more time and some more news comes over the wire. But
That's
Paige,
great. I really appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you.
wonderful. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.